to the Bird News Network, brought to you by American Bird Conservancy. This is Steve Homer reporting. Wind energy is sparking great interest as a renewable resource that can help stem global climate change by generating electricity without creating heat-trapping CO2 emissions. Wind energy currently provides 1% of the nation's electricity, but the Department of Energy expects that to grow to 20% by 2030. Some energy experts predict even faster growth. Unfortunately, wind turbines can have significant impacts on birds and bats, which are killed by the rotating blades. In addition, wind farms built in sensitive areas cause some species to abandon breeding areas because of roads, weather towers, the turbines, and transmission lines. As the number of wind turbines rapidly increase in coming years, the number of birds killed and impacts to wildlife habitat will increase.
The wind energy industry recently persuaded Congress to extend the renewable tax credits to expand their wind generation facilities. American Bird Conservancy believes that future extension of the renewable tax credit should be tied to appropriate siting, mitigation, and monitoring of their facilities on their impacts on wildlife. Those companies that responsibly seek to minimize their impact on birds and bats should receive the full tax credit, while those that choose to act without regard to conserving our wildlife for future generations would do so without being subsidized by the American taxpayer.
American Bird Conservancy is committed to working with industry and other stakeholders to ensure that as wind energy booms, the number of bird deaths caused by collisions with turbine blades will be minimized. American Bird Conservancy's Dr. Michael Fry and other experts have produced a series of recommendations to minimize wildlife impacts.
Research and experience are showing that there are some areas where impacts are great and mitigation is unsuccessful. Efforts to reduce bird impacts at Altamont Pass in California have thus far proven unsuccessful. Over 5,000 turbines are situated in an area with large raptor population. Thousands of protected birds, including golden eagles, have been killed in recent years.
Mitigation measures included replacing older turbines with newer models meant to be less hazardous to birds and turning off turbines during periods of heavy bird migration. However, new data released in 2007 show mortality of birds at Altamont has actually increased. Several wind projects in South Texas are being built along the coast, which is the biggest bird migration route in the U.S. Texas has no regulations to protect birds, although radar could potentially reduce impacts to migratory birds by temporarily stopping the rotors when flocks are detected. These wind projects will also have an extensive road network which will cause irreparable harm to the nearby Laguna Madre, an important bird area.
Building wind projects with little concern for environmental impacts points to the need for effective environmental analyses. Regulators must make sure that new projects are located where impacts to birds can be avoided or mitigated, and that projects will not cause severe environmental harm. American Bird Conservancy is now working with other groups to produce a wildlife and wind map showing developers where wind energy will produce the most energy with the least impacts to biodiversity.
The federal government is also working to address this problem. The U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service recently convened representatives from industry, the environmental community, and state governments to make recommendations on draft guidelines for the siting and operation of wind projects to minimize bird and bat deaths and reduce disturbance to wildlife habitat. The group will formulate recommendations for the Secretary of Interior by 2009. American Bird Conservancy is calling for these guidelines to be mandatory throughout the United States. For more information on this and other bird conservation issues, please see American Bird Conservancy's website at www.abcbirds.org. This is Steve Homer. Thanks for joining us at the Bird News Network.